Hey everybody, a very warm welcome to the show. I'm Rebecca McLaughlin-Easton, and this week we're celebrating female endeavour and accomplishment as this month marks International Women's Day. Be sure to stay tuned for our conversation with Baria Alamuddin. She is the Lebanese award-winning outspoken political journalist who also just happens to be mother to Amal Clooney.
I didn't influence my children in anything except teaching them the values of life, the morality of life, and I cannot be more proud.
A little bit later in the show, we'll meet a mother who, through exploring alternative therapies, helped to save her daughter's life. But first, International Women's Day marks the social, economic and cultural achievements of women around the world. And to get the regional perspective on female empowerment and progress, we spoke to one of its shining examples. The award-winning Lebanese broadcaster and journalist Baria Alamuddin has been making waves in the media world for many decades. She carved out a reputation for herself in the Middle East, the US and the UK by talking tough with cultural icons, heads of state and religious leaders. Memorably, she was also the last journalist to interview Prime Minister Indira Gandhi before her assassination.
Did you ever talk to her about destiny and what it might hold for her?
I said, do you believe in destiny? Then this is why you don't feel that you need all that protection.
I mean, I'm not afraid of death or being killed or anything like that. Because, I've always had to live in the midst of danger.
Baria has been a lifelong champion of women's rights, having written extensively about the evolving place of women in Saudi Arabian society. She's an advocate of female literacy and employment across the Arab world, a region which, according to a World Economic Forum report, states that of the 15 countries globally with the lowest rate of female participation in the workforce, 12 were in the Middle East and North Africa. Baria's mother was a strong advocate of female education and empowerment, and she had a powerful influence upon her daughter. Not unlike the influence Baria arguably has on her two daughters, Tala and Amal, the famous human rights barrister and wife of George Clooney. And with International Women's Day as a frame for our conversation, Inspire Middle East spoke to Baria when she visited Abu Dhabi. Baria, a warm welcome to Inspire Middle East.
Thank you, it's a pleasure.
Let me start by asking you about how you blazed a trail in your career back then when not many women were doing something similar in the field.
I was a big troublemaker and didn't really like what society dictated or the family or anything. I initially wanted to be a lawyer because I always wanted to serve justice for people. So I thought journalism is close by, and here I am.
Do you believe that there is a glass ceiling, that there are still barriers to entry for women in media today?
I think we women put a lot of these glass ceilings. They need to take part in the development of their families, their countries, the whole world. Then I think we will be on the right track.
And what about the women in Saudi Arabia? Are they gaining more traction in terms of being on more of a level playing field with their male peers, especially when it comes to being captains of industry?
Oh God, that's going to take time. But I can tell you that they're moving fast. I'm trying to write a book on Saudi women. So I've talked to about 2,300 women so far. It's unbelievable, the story there. 62 to 63% of graduates are women. It was about 10-12% the participation of women in the workplace. It's about 28% now, less than 2%. I think of CEOs around the world are women. So yes, there is movement, but there is still a lot of work. And it begins with the woman, I reiterate.
You've written an article titled The Future is Young and Female. We've talked about Saudi, but we sit in a vast and diverse region. What about pockets like Lebanon, like Syria, Yemen?
I'm very, very proud of the Lebanese women, especially these days. They are in the streets, they're leading the protesting, organizing, writing, doing a lot of the work. But also, I must say that the Iraqi women, who are a bit of a surprise because Iraq is a more conservative society, I see the girls coming out of the universities and taking part, maybe not as much as the Lebanese, but still going there.
To that end, do you believe in positive discrimination when it comes to women in the world of work and even quotas, which many people find quite controversial?
Yes. Oh, that definitely. I don't believe in discrimination, even if it's positive. In that sense, no discrimination. Men and women are the same. We are not competing. In my research in Saudi Arabia, I found that it is the fathers who push the girls more than the mothers, because the mothers sometimes are a bit scared that nobody will marry her daughter if she's a bit too advanced or too well educated or whatever. But this is changing.
Let's talk about family. You've raised two successful, independent daughters. You also have a successful, politically minded son-in-law. Do the conversations inevitably turn to politics when you all get together around the table?
Yes, I'm lucky in my family that we are all minded of human rights and justice around the world. And believe me, you cannot have any country with democracy or anything without justice. And we, in that sense, always end up talking about these issues. I'm a political journalist, as you can imagine. My son-in-law is very political. My whole family, I would say, is, coming from this part of the world and from Lebanon. Yes, we do discuss politics all the time. And I can't say we disagree. We agree most of the time.
Given your political journalism and your desire back then to become a lawyer, do you believe that this influenced your daughter Amal in any way to take the career path that she has?
I don't think so. I never told my children what to be or not to be. We come from the same thinking and the same background. I can't imagine human rights without justice, or justice without human rights and democracy and transparency, etc. It all sort of works together. I didn't influence my children in anything except teaching them the values of life, the morality of life, and I cannot be more proud.
You've said in the past that when you look at your grandchildren, you have concerns about what the future might hold for them. What is the outlook for the world that most concerns you?
I'm an optimist, and what really hurts me and scares me for the future of my grandkids is the leadership of the world today. Nationalism is not the way I think the world should go. The leadership in the States as well it leaves a lot to be desired. So, but again, as I say, when I look at the young, when I look at my grandchildren, when I look at their friends, when I look at the future where the world is going, trying to eradicate poverty and illnesses. So I am optimistic. I think we will be coming to a better world.
Looking at US politics, your son-in-law, George Clooney, is outspoken in his political views. Do you think we might see him enter the presidential race one day?
I hope not, because I know what politics is. This is a lovely family, a family full of love and dedication to the world that give a lot. You don't have to be a president to give a lot to humanity. You can do it from your own position, but you have to ask him.
And there we shall leave our conversation. It's been a pleasure, Baria. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you. Mainstream medicine is often the first port of call for mothers concerned about the mental or physical well-being of their children. But as Salim Essaid discovered, there are some women in this region who are adopting an alternative and even artistic approach to helping and healing their children. Let's take a look.
The art of perseverance helped Egyptian mother Amal dramatically improve the quality of life for her daughter, who was born mentally and physically disabled. She also set up a therapy center in the UAE, providing families with alternative ways to help children with conditions like Down syndrome and autism. Amal is determined to inspire hope in other mothers whose children are delivered a similar diagnosis to her own.
She had multiple organ failure. She was not able to eat orally, suspected blindness and deafness. I was given a very short lifespan, 3 months maximum, as well as a very poor prognosis.
Amal rejected conventional medicine and looked for alternative answers. She found them in a pioneering German doctor who used child psychology, sensory integration, and a holistic approach to help the young child.
Holistic is when you look at the child as a whole. So you don't just look at a problem that the child has, and you bring in the mentality, how he feels, how he reacts, how he perceives his disability.
Other types of alternative techniques used to treat certain pediatric conditions can include music, light, dance, color, play, and art therapy. Dr. Ola Pectina uses creative art and mindfulness to help toddlers and teens overcome challenges like anxiety. Through this creative outlet, she says, the brain can establish a new language for processing distressing or upsetting information. And in turn, this reduces a child's stress hormone, cortisol.
We'll start with creating a piece of art which would show in a symbolic way of what that anxiety, what the trauma meant. If you are angry and you create that anger, you put it on paper, what happens? You just move away from the feeling and you make it visible.
Her methods have the potential to help teens transitioning to adulthood, like 15-year-old Zainab from Pakistan.
I came here because I was struggling with body image and how I looked at myself.
She expresses herself in sketches and paintings in which she visualizes the emotions triggering her mental anguish.
When things manifest in my head, they become very confusing because they're overwhelming. And so when I put it down on paper, it changed my perception of them. It opened new doors in my head, and allowed for change.
Change, which has led to Zainab now sitting at the front of the class and interacting more with her schoolmates, seeming to prove the positive power of learning the art of mindfulness.
Well, that is all that we have time for in this episode. We hope that you enjoyed it, and do be sure to catch all of our programs online at euronews.com. Before I say goodbye, here are some inspiring women that caught our attention on Instagram. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Nada from Palestine created an art therapy group in Jordan aimed at empowering women. And footballer Aya shared this photo with the Jordanian national women's team ahead of the Asia Women's Cup.